Today is June 1st, 2022, and I am here at the Cumberland County Historical Society with Madeline Lyons. Did I get that right?
That is correct.
Awesome.
You've done good.
Trying to rack my memory here.
If I don't write it down, it's not pretty.
So, Madeline, the first question I have here for you is where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Delaware County, outside of Philadelphia, Havertown, Upper Darby, and Havertown.
Okay.
And then after I was married, I moved to Bucks County, to Warminster, and then to Southampton.
And you mentioned before we started rolling that you attended Catholic school
Yes,
in Delaware County?
yes.
Okay.
Annunciation Catholic School.
And what was that experience like?
I did fine.
Mhm.
I didn't kill myself. But there were 2 classes in a room, which was interesting. And I never worked too hard, but I always got good grades.
No, when you say there were 2 classes, there were 2 grades?
2 grades
Okay.
in one classroom.
Were you learning the same thing or were you learning different things?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
I'm sure, I learned enough to get good grades and pass. That was, and I I like that bookcase. School was easy for me.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't kill myself.
What was it? Did you go to church
Yes.
when you were growing up?
Cradle Catholic, daily mass, not daily mass, weekly mass, family. My mother was very holy, and my father got dragged kicking and screaming. But he grew more religious after Vatican II. He liked that, and I did too.
What were some of your early memories of going to church?
I don't have any strong recollections. I don't think I ever complained. I don't think it had done me any good anyway. But it was a strong faith time. People were, they followed it. They were faithful. And it stood me, I'm 88 and a half years old, and it stood me in good stead. I'd be in a bad way without it.
So you mentioned, I think, to me that you came to Carlisle or Cumberland County in '69.
That is correct. My husband changed jobs,
Okay.
and I had 4 small children, and he left on Monday and came home on Friday. And after 6 months, I said, honey, I've had enough fun. We're moving. And we did a smart thing. We rented on the Boiling Springs Road and built a house on Hickory Road near the Carlisle Fishing Game. And we lived there for 30 years. Lovely place to live.
You said that was in Middlesex Township?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, I always forget to do this, but just for clarification's sake, what were your parents' names?
Norbert Edmund Dooling Sr., and my mother was Helen Madeline Maloney.
And then your husband's name?
David Cyril Lyons, Lyons.
And then, so he got a job in Cumberland County.
He was a salesman,
Okay.
and he traveled here. And it was very much of a strain with 4 small children.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved here. I've never regretted it. It's a lovely area to live.
What did he sell?
Building materials. He was manufacturer's rep, self-employed. I carried the benefits, so I know what you're talking about.
What did you do for a living then?
I'm a registered nurse.
Okay.
I loved being a nurse. I didn't work while my children were young. I went back to work when my youngest was in 6th grade. And I worked for the Carlisle Hospital Well Baby Clinic. I was case manager for 12 years. I liked it a lot. I learned a lot about life in Cumberland County. A lot of poor people in very difficult circumstances.
And that was the hospital prior to the current one?
Well, it's the same hospital,
Yeah.
but it had a different name. It was before. It was UPMC.
Well, but it was in the same location then?
Yes, it's the same hospital.
Okay.
I traveled Perry County and Cumberland County.
So you moved here in '69.
Right.
Is that when you first became acquainted with St. Patrick's Church here?
Yes, we went right away.
And I'm trying to get my timeline correct, and that's when it was still at what is the present day Shrine Church.
Yes, the Shrine Church.
So what were your earliest memories of going to the Shrine Church?
I always liked the Shrine Church. It's small, and when you walk in, you feel like it wraps its arms around you.
Mm.
And it has excellent acoustics, being small and being the high ceiling. I was in the St. Patrick's Cathedral in Harrisburg last Saturday, and the acoustics that type of church has better acoustics, no question. Do you go to the Methodist Church on Spring Garden? When you go?
I haven't gone yet. We used to go to when it was on West Pomfret. Yeah. That's where we lived, is on West Pomfret.
Oh, okay.
But we normally go to the church that my wife grew up in, which is Tom's Creek and outside Emmitsburg, Maryland. That's where her parents live. So
so you make it a family day.
Yep.
You go scrounge dinner when you're there.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm sure they're delighted to have you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the church we also got married in. So
okay.
I have fond memories of that church as well.
Oh, that's nice.
And from what I've heard, I haven't been to the Shrine Church, but I hear, it's a very traditional church as well.
Yeah, very nice. The other church on Marsh Drive is now 50 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have to start all over again.
Well, you were here when they made that transition then.
Yes.
Do you remember, but you were relatively new to the parish. So I'm wondering, did you remember hearing anything about sort of the
anytime you change a church, people are incredibly traditional about, and very, I feel sorry for the Protestant churches when a new minister comes, because he has to try and please everybody, and it's not possible.
Yeah.
And, you get some of that in the Catholic Church, but it's different because there's a central governing body. Mm-hmm. The Methodist Church also has a governing body.
Well, the last sort of church project, oral history project we did was with the Second Presbyterian Church, and that's the exact opposite, where it's the churches themselves are. Yeah,
the Presbyterian Church has no governing body, but the Methodist Church does.
Yep, conferences and.
Yeah, it's difficult.
So the church, I guess the main church theoretically moves from East Pomfret to Marsh Drive.
They still had the downtown church open for daily mass. Mm-hmm. And then the other church on Sunday. And there was certainly people unhappy with it, but there was better seating, better parking. Mm-hmm. Downtown parking's always been the pits.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate you have parking in back, because I don't know how to work those.
Neither do I, to be honest. But so what was that transition like sort of during those early years?
I do not remember it as being traumatic. I taught religious education, and we used to go, my husband and I and my 4 children went to the Shrine Church for 8:00 Mass, and then I taught CCD, which is religious education. I never, we had, the Catholic Church went through some very difficult times. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've heard about, with different priests being less than lovely. Mm-hmm. And it was difficult. But when Father Fontanella came, he did an amazing job. He was much more ecumenical than the other priests we had previously. And he reached out to the Jewish community and, did very good things for the community. I feel incredibly blessed to live in this community. Am I messing up your thing?
No, I just checking to make sure it's still going.
Oh, okay. There's so many good people
Mm-hmm.
in this community. Having worked for the hospital with their well baby clinic, I have a very strong sense of the needs of the less wealthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel a strong commitment, part of my faith, definitely, to reach out. I have memories of, have you heard of Elaine Livas?
Yes.
She started the Project Share.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working as a visiting nurse with the Well Baby Clinic, she was at the Molly Pitcher.
Yeah.
Long, long ago. And I know her from then. And the lady who started the homeless program, it's now Community Cares, before it was Cares, brought her daughter to the Well Baby Clinic so I know her too. And Debbie's husband, Gordy, is on the board at the Sadler Health Center, which is an awesome gift to the community. They do wonderful things. And I'm a nurse, happily retired registered nurse. The CHIP program, which is Children's Health of Pennsylvania, does wonderful work.
Well, shifting gears a little bit, you mentioned you taught religious education at St. Pat's.
Mm-hmm. When you put 4 kids in the system, you're kind of obliged.
Well, that's what I was wondering was, did your children attend St. Pat's school or
No. The first, when we rented, our 2 older children went to St. Pat's for a year. But when we moved in September of 70, there was no way I was going to drive them back and forth. There was no bus transportation at that time. So they went to Cumberland Valley, got very, they all did well. And they all did well in college. They went to private colleges, and we survived.
So then their religious education then was put at the home, and then
no, it actually was done in a class on Sunday morning.
Okay.
At 10:30. That's how they did it then. Now they do it on Wednesday night.
Okay. And that was at Marsh Drive?
I forget where the classes were. You're going to interview Claire Brem. She knows more about the downtown. She lived on Pomfret Street, and she worked in the school, in the kitchen, so she's going to give you more information about that.
No, Debbie mentioned that you had 4 kids.
Shoelaces.
She wasn't sure if they went to St. Pat's or not.
Yeah, they didn't.
She knew that you did, but she wasn't sure about your children.
Yeah, no, they did not. St. Pat's School now is awesome.
Yes.
Holy mackerel. They do the most marvelous job. The principal, Antoinette Oliverio, is awesome. Mm-hmm. They have music, sports, everything. And they have 400 kids. They had 450. Mm-hmm. And now they have, their normal was about 250, 300. So they were bursting at the seams, did a marvelous job with the kids. Really did, awesome. Very high. With COVID, a lot of parents preferred their children be in person, mm-hmm. and they were able to manage that. Wow. And parents were moved. And they get a number of the military families. Mm-hmm. And they're wonderful.
Through the war college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I think this is such a wonderful community. Mm-hmm. With Dickinson College and the War College, and we get the cream of the military here.
Yes.
I'm sure if I was on some of where the brand new recruits come, I wouldn't think they were quite as nice as I do here. But they're really a gift.
All the colonels.
Well, they're good people, committed to the community. My kind of people.
Well, so you talked about sort of your mother was very religious.
Yes.
I'm wondering what was what role did church play sort of in your family's daily life growing up?
Very much.
Okay.
We said the rosary every night. My mother was very spiritual, very gentle. I take after my father.
Well, so that was my next question was, what was your family's, or what role did church play in your family's daily life
Big.
when you were raising your own children?
We always were cradle Catholics, you know, followed the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I took my faith as a Catholic changed when Deacon Cole was here. Have you heard about him?
I have not, no.
He was a lovely man. They had a Renew program, RENEW. It's the first time that I ever took my faith out and looked at it, and I found small groups extremely powerful. You talk about your faith together. Before it was something I did, and then I really bought into it.
No. When was this?
96.
96. Okay.
That Deacon Cole was here, and we started the Renew program. And there have been many programs at St. Pat's since then. And I've been involved in a lot of them.
So this would have been during Father Fontanella's time then?
Yes.
Okay.
I forget what year he came and I forget when he left, but I liked him.
Yeah, I think
He was here 27 years, I think.
I think he left in the 2000s, 2004, but I don't have my exact timelines. So.
Yeah. He did very good things for the parish. He was a character, but I loved him.
Well, he is one of the few names that shortly after I moved here that I heard about and connected to St. Pat's along with Father Gantz. It was Father Gantz and Father Fontanella.
Gantz was the original, I think.
Well, very early.
Yeah, I've seen his name, Gans. I don't know a whole bunch about him. Debbie would know a lot more because she's done the Historical Society.
Well, what were your first memories of Father Gantz then?
Father
Fontanella, excuse me.
I remember the first time he came, Father Brobitz had been picked up for soliciting in Shippensburg. And, you know, the Catholic Church did a very bad job. I would be the first to say it. They all needed a kick in the butt as the way they dealt with people with problems like that. He was attracted to young men. But the sexual abuse that occurred in the Catholic Church to me is inexcusable. Mm-hmm. As Father Forey said, if there had been a woman in the middle of that mess, she would have stuck up for the children. But it was the old boy network, alive and well. Mm-hmm. Worse in Philadelphia than here. Much, much better. But I remember Father Fontanella saying, "Joe, why didn't you tell us we could have helped you?" I thought that was very human and very powerful. I really did. I've been very active in my faith since then. I've done a lot of things and done a lot of teaching, and I've been a daily masser for like 20 years.
At the Shrine Church?
Wherever it is.
Okay.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday I go to the Shrine Church. The other days it's at the Marsh Drive Church.
Are there any other memories of Father Fontanella that stick out to you?
He was a character.
Yes.
A big character. He liked martinis, which I also like. I think he had some mental health issues. I think he had as a nurse, I would have a strong family history of mental health. Very, very bright and much loved.
Well, so we've talked about Father Fontanella and Deacon Cole. I'm wondering, are there any other religious leaders at St. Pat that you remember?
I love Father Forey. He was awesome. He was here 12 years, and he was a marvelous healing. Just could get along with anybody, and everything bloomed. They sent all the deacons here in the summer because it was they had 82 ministries. Mm-hmm. So that's a lot of people involved. Is your church where you go, your wife's church, how are they doing?
I think they're doing all right. I think COVID certainly makes it, difficult
Yeah.
in terms of.
Your more traditional churches
Mhm.
are not growing.
Yes.
Their people are dying off. Second Pres is a perfect example of that. What a wonderful church community. They did an interfaith Stations of the Cross. I like Jeff Gabelius. He's a lovely man. And I really like that, all the different communities that were there. But it's hard times. The only churches that are growing are the evangelical. E-Free,
Yep.
Meeting House. It's hard for them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, is that also the experience that you found at St. Pat's?
I found it's always been a very good community to me. I'm a natural extrovert, and I can pretty much talk to a post and have it talk back to me. And I've met a number of friendships in the parish, which give me great joy. And as I said, I've done a lot of Bible studies, and when you go to daily mass, it's like that's your family.
Yeah. A lot of the same people. Every
Yes.
day? Yeah.
Daily massers are pretty much, yeah. It's
Well,
good.
you mentioned that I think you said 82 ministries over the summer.
And not over the summer, but when Father Forey was here,
Oh, okay.
there were that many ministries. I don't know how many there are now.
Well, so the question I have here is, do you have any memories of serving in any of the ministries or committees, or you mentioned that you taught CCDs, so.
Yeah, I love that. I taught a number of Bible studies with adults. After I had made the Renew program, my husband and I had it at our house. And you make friends that I don't think you make the same friends anyplace else. You share your values and your goals. So I also made a Cursillo, which is a, countrywide. It's international, actually, 21 years ago, and I've been involved in that since.
And what exactly is Cursillo?
Cursillo, the definition is a short course in Christianity.
Okay.
And I've met weekly since then, just met this morning, talking about your journey of getting to heaven. And, it's been a very good tool for me to grow spiritually. I've sponsored 30 people for Cursillo, and it's a lifelong commitment. It's good. So we say it keeps me off the street and out of the bars. It's a good thing.
Yeah, there you go. Well, the next question I have here is, who are some of the people that you remember working with during, the ministries, Cursillo or CCD?
Oh, you're good. What?
Who are some of the people that you remember working with in those
Oh
programs?
boy, lots. Are you running out of time?
No, I have 24 hours, so I have plenty of time here.
Okay, and I don't know what your schedule is. Emery Donovan was an administrator. She was very good. Ellen Keevitt is still active. She's very active in the community too. She's lovely. Mary Mall did a lot. She's very active in the community. Lots and lots of people who have influenced me. We feel like we're on the same journey together, and the only thing that really matters is getting to heaven, and that's very much how I feel.
And I'm wondering, is it sort of you mentioned that with Cursillo, I think, or
Yeah,
some of the stuff in particular, it's because you're sharing values and you have similar goals. Do you find that a lot with the St. Pat's
Yes.
community?
I know. And I know people for so long. I've been here more than 50 years. And yes, good people, lots of them. And as I said, I'm a natural extrovert, and I bond with people, and it's been and as I said, I love the community. I volunteered for ages with the Project Share.
Yep.
love those people. And overnight with the homeless, did that for like 18 years.
And that's the cares.
Community cares, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the different churches that opened their doors to them. I met a lot of people there also.
We talked a little bit about.
You'd rather talk more about St. Patrick's than the community?
No,
Your
no,
focus is more?
I'm open to talking about anything.
Okay.
Um,
St. Pat's has been a very important factor in my life.
mhm.
Uh,
But one part of many factors, then.
well, I'm very blessed. I love being a nurse.
Yeah.
Lots of friends, a very rich, full life.
Yeah.
Which has certainly helped. And thank you for tying your shoelaces. It's the mother in me. I can't resist. I'm very blessed for my age. My life is full. I have 4 wonderful children who are awesome to me, 8 grandchildren, lots of friends.
Yeah.
Life is good. Got no bitch.
Well, we talked a little bit about sort of the transition from Pomfret to Marsh.
That was not difficult for me.
Well, I know,
But I do change well.
But I'm wondering, were there any other sort of events or church issues that came up that you had to remember dealing with or discussing?
Oh, there were difficult times in the parish. When Father Waldershard was here, that was very stressful. And when Father Moran was here, there was a great deal of human nature on display, not at its best. I think you get that in all churches.
Mm-hmm.
I think Father Bender's doing a good job.
What? And I'm sure that St. Pat's is, as you said, like all churches, but also like all organizations. I'm sure that the hospital was the same way.
We're messy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. But as I said, I'm very much, I'm pretty liberal in my thinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should take the guns, those bump stocks, and do something creative with them.
Sure.
But I still have no problem with the Catholic faith.
Well,
Don't be tactful. Say what you.
no. I'm trying to think of how to phrase the question in the sense of and now it's escaping me.
Well, welcome to the world. It gets worse.
No, I'm sure not. I've noticed that the last few years in particular. It's just a downhill.
Cheer up, it gets worse.
Well, I'll just go to the next question then. So, you referenced that you've been here 50 years,
Mhm.
and there's been a lot of changes both at St. Pat's and in the community. And I'm wondering, sort of, what stands out the most to you that's the same at St. Pat's or in the community?
It's the same.
Yes.
It's the Eucharist
Okay.
at St. Pat's because the Catholic Church believes that is the body and blood
Mm-hmm.
of Jesus Christ. It's not just, I've gone to other Protestant churches, but it's just like a memory. It's not the real deal,
Yes.
which it is in my heart. And it's very important to me, especially as I get older. Stuff doesn't matter to me. I'm more interested in doing good, helping people. That's always been, I think it's the nurse in me and my experiences.
I was going to say, I think that's reflected in some of the things you've told me in terms of
Very much.
volunteerism
I feel a very great desire to help people
Mhm.
because I have been so blessed. I have had so much love in my life, and it changes you. I know people who did not grow up with love, and it's very hard to share it when you don't know what it feels like.
Well, conversely to what's the same, I'm wondering what's the greatest change you've noticed over the course of your time?
At St. Pat's
Yeah.
or the community? St.
We'll
Pat's?
start with St. Pat's.
Nothing important has changed to me at St. Pat's. You know, a different priest has maybe a different style, but it doesn't change my commitment to my faith, which is quite strong. The community, I want to help people. And I see people that I know. I remember going up on the mountain to what was their name? Johnson. Oh, they were characters. And I still see some of them. I go to Forest Park Nursing Home. Carl Johnson is there. He's, I know a lot of people I see a lot of the homeless people that I know around town. Did you know, don't ever give money to somebody who has a sign that says they're homeless? Mm-hmm. Give them a gas card or a giant card, but not money. That's from the people in charge of the organizations. Project Share, I think the new administrator, Bob Weed, doing an excellent job. I went there and they have, with COVID, they've had everybody pick up, and they have designed a program where if people wish to shop for, pick up their own groceries, they have a great program for it. It's done with great dignity, respecting the dignity of the recipients. Mm-hmm. And I was very impressed that they showed me, how they do it. Like the number in your family, you receive a card that tells you how much of each item you get. They've done a very good job. And I saw Elaine Livas not long ago at a funeral. She did wonderful, wonderful things.
Well, I think related to that, so you've mentioned, your own volunteer work and involvement in the community. And part of that is in, I think, coordination with St. Pat's in terms of cares. But I'm wondering, are there any other community issues or projects that you remember St. Pat's being involved with?
I remember Father Fontanella reaching out to the Jewish people and offering them part of our cemetery, which was unusual at that time. St. Pat's does a ton of volunteer work with all different communities. They all, with the homeless, a lot of them volunteer there, and Project Share, and the Sadler is another program that I dearly love. They provide health care. Even if you have no insurance, they provide health care. Mm-hmm. And the woman in charge of that is a Muslim, which I think speaks volumes for the open-mindedness of our community.
Well, then, is St. Pat's how you first became involved with some of these organizations, or?
More as my children got older. After my husband died, I did a lot more volunteer work because I had more time.
Yeah.
Involved in visited the prison, lots of stuff. Nursing home, Forest Park Nursing Home. Been visiting there for like 20 years. Wow. It's the good stuff you take with you.
Yeah.
Which has nothing to do with stuff. As one of our priests said, there are no U-Hauls behind caskets. You ain't going to take it with you.
What? So your main profession was sort of working at the Carlisle Hospital and was it the Well Baby?
It was the Well Baby, not in the hospital, but it was an outpatient clinic.
Through the hospital?
Sponsored by the hospital.
Okay.
And it was at Sadler when it was on North Hanover Street.
Okay.
I forget what's there now. In the second block on the right-hand side. I have to look. You have to walk downtown to see what's down there because you can't drive and look.
Yeah, no. I was a little bit because Sadler is on North Hanover Street.
No,
now,
it's at the corner.
A different location.
It was further up and on the other side. That's on the corner of
Lowther.
Up from the post office. It is now, and they do a wonderful job. and I've been on the board there. I was on there for 6 years.
No, is that through?
That's federally funded.
No, it's the Well Baby Center. Was that through or sponsored by the Civic Club, or is that a different?
I think it was certainly the hospital that funded it.
Okay.
I don't know whether I don't know the history of that. Debbie probably would know whether it started out, but it was an excellent program because you went to people's houses and you learn more in 5 minutes in their house than in 2 hours in the clinic. Very educational for me.
And that was just sort of helping new mothers or expecting mothers.
It was just taking care of children. We had physicians in the community take turns.
Okay.
Family practice doctors come and do they had regular medical appointments like they would have in a pediatrician's office.
Oh, but it was in their homes.
No, it was in the they had it at the Sadler Center. They had it different places.
Okay.
I worked there from 77 to 89. And I was happy to do it.
Mm-hmm. And then you retired, or did you move?
No, then I went to Greenridge. I worked at Greenridge. That's it. Have you ever been out there?
I had it in Newville, or right outside Newville.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a lovely community.
Yes.
I was day supervisor there for 5 years, and I liked that. At that time, that was a wonderful place to be. The Presbyterian Church was in charge of it. The insurance companies were not involved, and anything the residents needed, they got.
Wow.
Which is a different game nowadays. It's about the money, honey. Difficult times in nursing homes now, between not being able to get help and limited funding. But that was a great place to work.
Yeah, I interviewed a gentleman, like a 94-year-old gentleman who was living there.
Really?
Yeah. That was a couple of years ago. Actually,
Okay.
It was probably more than a couple of years ago.
Yeah, hopefully he's gone by now. You can't tell. But they had a different program there financially. Mm-hmm. First of all, as I said, for the residents, this was skilled care. I don't know if you're aware of the differences. Levels of care. If they needed something, they got it. And there was no ifs, ands, or buts about the money. And as I said, it was any facility that is church sponsored treats their people better than the ones that are about the money. Forest Park was just sold again. And it's hard. It's hard to make money, especially now because their numbers are down with COVID and their staff are hard to come by.
Yeah.
Hard times.
What was it about Forest Park in particular that drew you there?
You get to know the people. And you get to know the staff. It was very rewarding. Being a nurse, I would bring them communion and visit with them. Very rewarding. Good, doing good for other people has always given me great joy. It has a lot to do with my faith and being a nurse. But good life, baby. I got no gripes.
Well, did being a nurse change from when you started in the nursing profession to when you retired?
Yes. But the last 6 months that I worked, after I left Greenridge, I worked for Highmark. I did not like the business end of nursing at all. I liked the people and helping people. I didn't like inspecting doctors' offices and see if they were dotting their I's and crossing their T's.
Yeah, that was what you did for the final?
Yeah. I was happy to retire from that.
Sure.
And I've done lots of traveling, had lots of fun. Have you ever been to Africa?
I've been to South Africa.
Oh.
So I don't know if that qualifies or not.
Well, yeah, I was in Tanzania. What took you there?
So when I was at Elizabethtown, I studied abroad in South Africa in Cape Town for 1 semester.
Oh, what did you think of it?
It was fantastic. So that was, I mentioned the oral history project. So that was where I first really in-depth studied how to do oral histories and sort of their impact. So
Interesting.
it's what I'm doing now. So it's clearly had an impact on me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. But no, yeah, it was a great place to. The University of Cape Town was a great place to spend a semester at. So
I was in Tanzania. I really didn't interact with the people, but the animals.
yeah,
I was on safari. The cultures of the animals was fascinating.
yes.
We stayed in tents with flush toilets and Navy showers. It was wonderful. I loved my favorite trip, and I've been lots of places. Alaska's another lovely one.
And this was mainly after you retired?
Yes. After my husband died, I did a lot of traveling. Loved it all.
Because he was so did he get enough traveling during his day job then, or?
We did, he he had to work, poor dear.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of fun. I'm not complaining. But I certainly traveled more. Traveled by myself with overseas adventure travel, which is 10 to 16 people.
Mm-hmm.
And takes a lot less time for them to go to the bathroom than for 60 people in a bus.
Sure.
And they were good. I enjoyed it.
I have a couple more questions here that I think of as the metaphysical question part of the interview.
Okay, go for it.
And I'm interested to hear your answer in particular, because it sounds like with the Renew program, you've certainly thought about these types of questions.
I made a mature adult commitment to my faith on an intellectual level versus this is what I'm programmed to do.
Yeah.
Which
Well,
is
so that's actually the last question I had, but I'll ask it first. Is so how has your faith journey influenced your life?
unbelievably. It's my main focus. I want to get to heaven. And it has changed. Well, I never went away from it, but it certainly matured and grew because of Renew program and small groups. I think whatever you want to share, a small group is the most effective way to do it because people are more open. They share their thoughts. And you grow together.
Well, and I think you can connect easier too.
Yes, definitely, because you're more honest.
Mm-hmm.
In a small group. In any community, I think that's true. You share your values. And like my Curcio group, we meet every week. Somebody always says something I need to hear. God's guiding me along my journey. Very much so.
And you mentioned Reverend, hang on, I can never say his name. Gabelis.
Oh, Jeff Gabelis,
Yes. Yeah. I know.
I think that's the right way to say
You
it.
mentioned Father Fontanella too. What I associate with the two of them is, and you mentioned this sort of this ecumenical mindset.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, have you been involved in any sort of, sort of ecumenical group or?
I do that interfaith Stations of the Cross.
Yeah.
I went to a Thanksgiving service that Jeff did at Second Press. I'm very impressed by the quality of the church communities in our community. St. Paul's is wonderful. They are housing the homeless now.
Okay.
Did you know that they bought that building on South Spring Garden?
I did not.
It doesn't look like much, but and Dr. Bob, who I know from, I was on the board too at CARES, but they have to redo the plumbing and they're going to use that regularly. I think the times of rotating through the churches are done.
Yeah.
Which is what they did, but they're at St. Paul's now. Lovely community. Jimmy George, have you heard of him?
Yes.
That's his church.
Yep.
Lovely, lovely man. Oh, have you heard of Opportunity Homes?
No, I don't think I have.
Been on the board there forever. It's no federal money. and they buy some of the homes in the less desirable Pitt Street, North Street.
Where we are now.
Yeah, right. Up their building is up at Penn and Pitt.
Okay.
They buy homes and renovate them and lease them, rent them to people for like $450. They can be less if they're situated. It's based on their means, and they maintain them. Great. Another no federal money involved.
Wow.
Lovely tribute to the community.
Yeah. Well, too, and I mean, the neighborhood that I grew up in was very affluent, and I think that sort of, I wouldn't say my family was affluent, because it was my parents were wanting to be farmers, and so I grew up on a farm. But
Did you? Oh, that changes.
the area was very affluent.
What?
And I think it sort of, and I know that that's a constant struggle for the community as well, because they find it very hard to staff certain things. And so I think having a community that has, diversity in
Resources.
terms of, not just racial diversity, but wealth diversity, I think it allows you to be a much fuller individual if you grow up in a community like that.
Yeah. Well, as I said, this community here is so many good people who care and figure out what needs to be done and do it. The vaccine rollout here.
Mhm.
Were you familiar with it? Were you here then?
For the COVID vaccine?
Yeah.
Yes.
There was one man, Brian Gobin, who has Quality Care Pharmacy.
Yep.
There's one in Newville and one in Holly.
Yes.
He
We interviewed him. It was Richard Gubin. So it might have been
I think Richard was his father.
Yeah.
He set up a program at the Meeting House Church where he attended, and in one day they did 1,200 vaccinations.
Wow.
And that was set up without just all volunteers given the vaccine. Just made my heart sing to live in this community because it was a need. And it was met. And then the county got involved in it and they moved across to the Kmart.
Yes, that's where I got my
Okay.
shot.
Did you get a booster?
Yep.
I got my second booster last week. Well, I wasn't going to get it until the fall, but then they advised getting it now. You're cool. At least you got vaccinated.
Oh, yeah.
Good for you. Did your wife?
Yes. She got it long before I did. She was eligible before I was as well.
Good.
So
I think you're very interesting. I would not be. I'm not history minded. My son was a history major.
yes, imagine.
But I think it's wonderful to get an appreciation. If you don't understand what happened before, you can't learn from your mistakes. You did the same dumb stuff all over again.
Well, I always view history not so much as repeating itself, but as sort of like a spiral staircase where, it's not necessarily the same thing happening, but you can look down and see, oh yeah, that's pretty much that's pretty similar to what we just did.
Interesting. And a spiral staircase, that's an interesting connotation.
Well, I have one more question. I actually have two more questions, but one more question that I have on this page is, do you recall a time when your faith played a particularly important role in your life?
It's always.
I figured that you'd say that.
Yeah, I never walked away from it. It's grown from, as I said, really from the Renew program. I have matured. My faith has matured as I have changed. It's changed with me. Very, very important in my life.
Well, I don't know how you'll take this question, but
I don't offend you, so feel free.
well, I'm wondering what would your mother think of you today in terms of your faith?
She would like me.
Yeah.
She was a different, much more introverted, very devout. She would be proud of me. I'm proud of me.
Yeah.
I am. I'm grateful for all the blessings I've had in my life and the people I've helped. That's the good stuff you take with you. It has nothing to do with money or stuff.
Well, yeah. Well, the reason I asked that is because you said your mother seemed like she was much more traditional in terms of
Everybody.
her faith, and I was just wondering, it seems like you've become more devoted.
My faith is deeper
Yeah. Okay.
and more outgoing than hers. She was holy, gentle, peacemaker.
Yeah.
I tend to speak my mind, and I don't think I'm going to change.
A different generation.
Yes, definitely. And I had a lot of love growing up, and I've had a lot of love in my life, lots of good things. I've seen so many people who don't have that much, and it makes my heart try to help them.
Do you have any siblings growing up then?
Oh, I was fifth of six,
Fifth of six. Wow.
and I was in a lovely position. My oldest sister, who's 96, is still living. And then I had three brothers, and then me, and I was the princess. I milked it. And then I have another sister a year younger who's gone. Just my older sister and I are still alive.
Okay. Now, did any of your siblings, did they also take after your father, or did any of them take after your mother, or?
Combination.
Yeah.
My older sister, who's 96, I do not think that her faith changed in the same way that mine did. Probably personality-wise, she was a very different type. Very sweet. I mean, we had lots of fun. I grew up in a big, noisy Irish family.
Yeah.
Typical Sunday was 20 people. When you go down to your in-laws, how many are there? How many were in your family growing up?
So, I just had a sister.
Okay, just
But
two.
my mother was also one of six, I believe. So when her family got together, it got pretty rowdy. And all of her.
What's her ethnicity?
So mainly English. Her mother came from a German family, but it was mainly her father's family that was around and sort of growing up in southern Vermont there. Her mother's family, I think, was from New York, one of the boroughs originally, and then they moved all over the place because her mother's father was a photojournalist.
Oh,
So
how
he took
interesting.
photos all over the place, and
How interesting.
he ended up with like the New York News or Daily News or something. But yeah, so they moved around a lot. So I don't think she was as close with that side of the family as she was with her father's side because they were all farmers in southern Vermont.
I have a cousin, a nephew, who lives in Huntington,
Okay.
Vermont. Very nice area.
Yeah. I'm not familiar with it, but
Okay. Very nice.
Vermont's weird and a lot of small towns.
Yeah. But it's a very nice community. He's a nice person. I like him.
It's 20 people. That's a lot.
Oh,
I'm sure that's probably how you got your personality too. You have to
I
speak up
just
for
think
yourself.
it's genetic from my father. And they had a business. My father went to fourth grade, period.
Yeah.
And he had 5 Firestone dealerships.
Wow.
So he was, at different times. Education was not the focus. But I do believe all our kids went to private colleges. Don't ask me how we managed it. And
Cheaper back then too, bro.
oh, much. Oh my God, yes. Yeah, but they're all good people.
Yeah.
I'm proud of them.
Now, are they local?
I have a daughter in Camp Hill who's a nurse also, bossy like her mother. And I have a son in York and a son in Rehoboth Beach and a daughter in Connecticut, not too far from the shooting area, Sandy Hook.
Well, my wife would be jealous. I think Rehoboth Beach is her favorite place in the world.
I know. My son, they were just here last week. The beach has really been disaster down there.
Has it?
Yeah. Jersey beaches are okay. They always were flatter. Growing up, we went to Stone Harbor, and Avalon on they're flatter and wider. The Rehoboth beaches were never as nice as the Jersey beaches, but they said, now I haven't been down since, but they said they're bad.
Right.
Where's your daughter, your sister, your wife like to go in Rehoboth?
Oh man, I don't know if some state park near Rehoboth, I think.
Oh, I know where that is.
Yeah, and I think she likes it because it's quieter.
Mhm.
It's not as busy as I think the Jersey beaches.
Yeah, I love Rehoboth. It's a lovely town. And I like the established homes. I think sometimes, like, I hate Ocean City, Maryland.
I still my wife.
As with those big high rises on the beach, I'd like to put a match to them all. But Rehoboth is a nice town.
Now you mentioned you had 8 grandchildren. Are they also relatively local too? Or?
One is very close. She was just here this week. I have 2 in Colorado, where they like it very well.
Yeah.
And I have 1 in Massachusetts, 1 in Philly, 1 in going to DeSales in Allentown area. 3, 6. Oh, one's in going to school in Boston, and the other's going to go start in the fall college there. That's the one that lives in Connecticut. Her 2 children. She's in a lovely community in Connecticut, Guilford, north of New Haven.
Okay.
It's lovely.
Yeah.
Nice. They have a big green in the center of the town. It's lovely.
So you got a couple kids or 3 kids who are close then.
Yeah.
Close to.
They're all very attentive.
Yeah.
I'm very blessed. I tell people in the supermarket that I don't even know, especially if the kids aren't behaving too well. I tell them it's the most important thing you ever do in your life. And it is. You change the world. When you're ready.
Yeah.
But it's much harder now.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you have 2 incomes and you live on 2 incomes. Childcare is dreadful.
Yeah.
So expensive, and you don't have any family.
Well, my wife's family is here.
Oh.
So again, they're the ones in.
Oh, that's right. They live. But you wouldn't take the children down there to be babysat?
We'd have to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think they've offered, so we're
Okay.
semi-counting on that, I think, but
Well,
not full time.
It's a blessing to have grandparents. It's a blessing for the children and for the grandparents. So they're telling you you should.
Father would agree with that. But yeah, I know her parents have 2 grandkids now. One of them they take care of twice a week, and
Okay.
they really enjoy that. So
2 days a week is nice.
Yeah.
You don't have to kill them.
well, she's also 6, 7 months now.
Oh, wow.
So it's probably the perfect age for them, where she's not too active, so they can just enjoy her.
Yeah. 3 months to 15, 18 months is a joy.
Yeah.
They do something new every day, and you get to see the world through their eyes.
Yeah.
Which is great. You'll figure it out.
Well, I don't have any more questions for you, but the last question I always ask is there anything that you want to mention that I should have asked or talk about that leaves me?
Thanks for the compliment, but I haven't a clue.
Oh.
I think you did a good job. St. Pat's has very much been a big factor in my life. I have many, many friends among the community.
Mhm.
It's very much a focus. And because of my Catholic faith, I have been involved in other things in the community, and many, many Catholics are involved in a lot of community things.
Yeah.
It's goodness. I said, I love this community.
Well, I think that shows not only in what you've said, but your actions. I think are probably the clearest indication of that. So.
No, it's really, I'm blessed. You be good to yourself.
All right. Well, thank you so much for talking with me.
My Claire Bram, when you interview her, she's in my group. She knows more. She knows more about the Catholic school.
Okay.
And more about the community because she lived on Pomfret Street. So she'll give you more stuff about that than I know. I was very pleased with Cumberland Valley Schools. When you put 4 kids through school and they all do well in life,
Yeah.
the school did something good. I don't know that I would like them to be in it now. It's really huge
Yes.
and growing. But they did well. Good luck.
Thank you.